All right. Hi, I'm Kevin McPhee, the pulse crop breeder from Montana State University. Today, I'm going to give you an overview of the breeding program, where we are in the development of new varieties of peas, lentils, and chickpeas for Montana production areas and for Montana producers. In the field that I'm standing in here at the post farm, we've got peas, what I'm standing in right now, chickpeas to my right, and to my left there's some lentil plots. I'll talk a little bit about each one of those. In each of these crops, we're working with different market classes. For the peas, we're working with smooth green and smooth yellows. In both of those seed types, we're looking at spring type as well as a winter type. And the winter type is something that's a bit new. There's been some interest in that. It's been a very strong interest of mine to develop winter peas for production areas. And we're on our way, and hopefully we'll have some interesting results in a couple of years as we have a chance to test those. For the lentils, we're working with three different size classes within the green lentils as well as the small reds. In the chickpeas, primarily focusing on the kabuli types. For the cafe or the salad bar types, as well as the large Spanish white types. In the objectives for each of the three crops are relatively the same, looking at upright growth, standability, harvestability, looking at yield, of course, seed quality, as well as disease resistance. And one thing I want to mention as far as the standability, one example here with the peas is we want plants that have very stiff stems and stay upright. And if we grab a hold of the plot here, and this is kind of in the middle, but you can see how it's just shaking here in the middle, shakes the entire plot from one end to the other. I could move back to the end as well, and it would do the same thing. So that's really what we're after. Today, these are in the early pod fill, flat pod stage. A lot's going to change before we come in and harvest. As they start filling their pods, setting seed, the stems are going to collapse at maturity. For some of these varieties, the seed weight is also going to pull the plants down. This particular plot would expect to stay upright based on its background, but only time will tell for that. The same upright growth is what we're after in the lentils and chickpeas as well. We want to get the seeds up off of the ground so that they can be harvested more easily for the producers and have a minimum of trash and other foreign material harvested in the seed. As far as disease resistance, a number of different pathogens, soil-borne, aerial, foliar pathogens that we're interested in. Working with the plant pathologists here at the campus in Bozeman, as well as the pathologists at the research centers. A number of different trials are underway. One thing I want to point out is ascochyta blight on chickpeas. This is a plant that we don't have a lot of blight here at the research center. But this is one plant that from an isolated spot that I found with the lesions on here. So from a breeding perspective, I'd like to see this. It gives me a chance to know which ones are resistant and which ones are not. The other thing that's interesting about this plant is that the lesions are working their way up the plant while we had the moist and wet conditions during the spring, early summer here. But since it's dried off, the ends of the branches, the top of the plant are devoid of any of the lesions. And as long as it stays dry, would expect that status to stay. But the inoculum is here. So if the conditions change, it's primed for a blow up of ascochyta on these chickpeas. One final note I want to make as far as the development of the program, we're trying to fill a breeding pipeline, beginning with germplasm evaluation, making crosses, advancing generations, and making selections with the idea of moving those selections into advanced yield trials. What I'm standing in here today are the very first selections of pea breeding lines from our efforts here at Montana State. So these are derived from the crosses I made the first spring. So that's the spring of 2017 when I arrived. And this is our fourth field season, and we already have material that we're able to test and look at the initial stages of yield. The material here will be destined for advanced yield trials or preliminary yield trials around the state in the coming year and beyond, ideally being able to identify material that's adapted and better than current varieties that are being grown. The lentils are one stage behind this. We have a number of breeding populations to my left over here in the lentil portion of the field. We have made selections. Those individual rows and head rows of material will be in this same stage next year. So pretty happy about that as well. Looking forward to how they perform. Chickpeas, a couple of generations behind that. We have segregating populations, be making selections as time allows over the next couple of years, and have evaluations of those when that time comes. I'm going to close with that, offer the opportunity for anyone that has questions to give me a call. I understand there'll be an opportunity for a question answer period with this online field day experience, but at any point in time, would be welcome and open to any questions and discussions that you may want to have about the pulse breeding program, where we're at and where we're headed. Thank you.